All right, greetings, family. We're with our two beautiful couple, husband and wife.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here.
I definitely want to share many things with our folks. One of the main things I want to get into is black male female relationships.
Right.
But before we do so, can you both introduce yourself and let people know a little bit about your background?
Okay, my name is Rael, and I am a spiritual teacher. I teach a sacred science of sight, and pretty much we all know it as the all-seeing eye or the eye of Ra. But it pretty much it's the basic essentials to how consciousness works, which is to understand the eyes and ears that we were given in nature. But pretty much how we use it as far as a couple, we deal with this understanding as far as through consulting others through spirituality, to consult others based off of the certain natures that their children or even spouses may display as far as within a relationship. And what it really gets down to is that astrology plays its role in understanding relationship, but nature is the other missing key to understanding how we work as an animal, as a beast, as someone that was given specific eyes, specific eyebrows, and specific ears to hear with. So that's pretty much what I do is as far as teach others on how to understand the sacred language of sight. And my fiance,
Hathor Sekmet El, and I'm also a spiritual teacher with Rael. I've been learning with him for almost a year now, and I can say that it really increased my awareness of who I am and how I deal with my children. I'm a mother of 7. I have 6 boys and 1 girl. That's a long story. I can't tell you about it. And I'm also a mentor and teacher over a group called Yoni Love Magic, and it's a women's group, and it deals with women and their health and metaphysics and different things like that. So I also teach the other side of the all-seeing eye, which is the tail, which deals with sexuality and being able to match up people into divine matchmaking type of setup where we put them together by how they can harmonize sexually with each other.
Yep, and pretty much what it is that the golden ratio of consciousness is to be able to define everything from this point forward. And so when we're able to look at the consciousness and being able to tell the psyche or the mind of that person, which is really the male aspect, the tail aspect is the part that allows us to see how you two connect and how you fit up to your sexual organs match, right? And so I think this is a missing understanding that when we look at relationships, we are connecting each other based off of artificial,
she got a big
features.
Booty. She got
a great
this.
job. Her mama look good. They got money. They got all these things. Right? Those are not the right matchmaking tools.
Right.
The right response is to be able to match a person by the certain features of their eyes and to be able to match them by certain features on their face. And so this gets into the nature of relationships that some relationships are naturally set up just on the parts we were given.
I appreciate that wonderful introduction, and that gives us a whole lot to get into.
Right.
And one of the things I want to talk about before we get into this incredible dialogue about black male female relationships from a nation building African perspective is our connection, how we met, and how there's a yearning for those of us that are born in the African diaspora, those of us from the different parts of the Caribbean islands, different parts of the Americas, and especially Black America, that some of us want to go home. Some of us believe in that reconnection to the land of our ancestors, and I appreciate the energy as far as both of you coming from a family perspective, because we just need more families to be organized. I know it's a lot more difficult to just get a whole family on board, but definitely look forward to your family being a great example as the things that we work on become more vivid. And once we get things set up in place in Africa, we can say we as a people have done it via family, individuals. So no matter what your situation is, you can come home and connect with us.
Right, exactly. That needs to happen. Well, how we met Bomani was there was a post and it said come back home, and it was from a man, and he was in Ghana. He said, yeah, I need to come back home to mama. And I was kind of frustrated, and I put up a post like, they always say this to us but don't tell us how to get back home. And my friend Jasmine, which is one of our students that we are started working with, she tagged me in a post of Bomani's, and had told me, check this out. He does tours. And that's when we went down the rabbit's hole and was like, well, let's get in contact with him. Let's find out what he does. And now it's all, lined up where we're now talking to Bomani, and it's opened up a lot of doors. Now we're going to dealing with the Guyanian Council of Georgia. So it was just the right door that opened for us to meet Bomani and to be able to know that there is a way that we can get back to Africa, because his information was so thorough. I have never seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
I've just always seen videos, and even them making, videos over there saying come back home, and knowing about that we could possibly get dual citizenship in Ghana, that door was open. But I never knew that there was steps where you can invest in Africa, that you can go on tours, and that it's actually feasible, and you can do it. So
Yeah.
we thank you for that we were able to connect with you and find out all of that information.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like for me, and I just wanted to kind of talk about it from a different angle, that, in spirituality, because my walk has been a spiritual walk where I kind of gave up all my things several years ago and chose to serve in spirit, those that I was sent to serve. And so now I feel that, when you reach a certain level of your spiritual evolution, where, I feel like, I've served the Spirit long enough now. The Spirit wants me to serve a land or a people. Mm-hmm. I feel like Africa is the next place, or the next step for my evolution, where I get a chance to reach out to the natives of the natives of the land, but also the natives of our spirit, because there's a certain aspect that Africa has that it allows greater connectedness to our spirit. There's something about Africa that I think everyone that when they go, they have a greater connectedness. So I know for me, it's been a yearning to connect with my greater spirit, which is the people of Africa, which is to be able to bring something back, because I do believe that we all were scattered and all sent over the world, and some of us landed in America, some of us landed in many different places of the world. But I do feel like, those of us who are wanting return are wanting to return with something, some type of gift to bring back. And I think, to be able to have that chance now, and to be able to be connected to Bomani, but to also see the sequence of events that's connected us with some members of the Ghana Council, has all been an effort that, has really brought me to a point where I can really see a greater evolution, a greater migration of people wanting to take that trip. But I do feel like there has to be something built ahead of time before we can even begin to think about a mass exodus, or hundreds of thousands of people wanting to come back to Africa. Right now, there is no system set up for that yet.
Yeah, because I think Ghana needs that relations to feel that African Americans are some type of asset to Ghana, and that you can't just come over there just for personal gain. It has to be something where you're going to help Ghana with their economy, or you're going to help Ghana with the relations between African Americans and Africans, which we are trying to make a start to do, is build this bridge, because we have Ghana we have people that in Ghana that are coming here to America, and they're here, but they're not. We don't get to do what they do. Like, they have dual citizenship, so they can go back and forth, but we don't have that leisure where we could go back and forth. We can't do that. So we would like to be able to build a bridge where African Americans can kind of do the same thing as Africans are doing, where we can experience home, because a lot of us have not been home. So
well, perfect, and that's a great introduction into what we're going to get into. So we're talking about those of us Africans that were stolen from the continent, and then we have Africans that are born on the continent,
right,
under colonization and imperialism. So all of us have been under these different forms of our systems by our oppressors, and now we're in relationships with each other, and now we are trying to figure out how do we properly have a strong black male-female relationships and be examples for our children to come. And just want to reach out and for you to share some of your expert advice, and also some of the flaws and some of the things that you have been through that you see other male and females that go through and just keep the same things going?
I think I can speak from a single mother perspective because I was a single mother for a very long time. People may ask me, well, how did I get, 7 children? I was a part of the Hebrew Israelites. So they believed in be fruitful and multiply. But it came to a point where I was not liking how things were going with how they treated the women, because a lady had told me, I forget what her name was, but she told me, if you want to know about an organization or a religious organization, if they're good, look at the women and the children. If the women and children are not right, then don't go with the organization. Don't go with that religious organization of any kind if the women and children are not treated right. And you could look at us. You could look at the Hebrew Israelite women. I hate to say this about them, but my experience from the sect that I was in is that the women and children were not being treated right, and especially the women. And that goes along the lines with polygamy and everything else. But as a single mother, after leaving their father, I had 7 children. So you would think that I would never be able to date, but I did date. But it came to this point where, being single for so long, I didn't know how to treat the right man when he came along. So when Rael did come along, I kind of was like closed. Like I was so used to having stuff my way that trying to have him be in my life was kind of hard for me. And a lot of women, they say, I want a good man, I want a good man, I want a good man. But then when we get that good man, do you know how to treat him? I think a lot of us don't. And I think that's a lot of reasons why, and a lot of black women will probably be mad at me, but I think that's why a lot of black women are single, is because they're stuck in their ways. And a lot of women are materialistic, and they want these men to be perfect, or already complete and together, and you don't have shit together your damn self. So how are you wanting this complete man and feeling like you can accept him when you're not even complete yourself? Because I knew I didn't have it all together, but I thought I had a good amount of it together, but not when I met him. Because when you get with a man, or what you would call an alpha man, he's not going to accept or take a lot of things. And I was at the point, before I even met Rael, I was like, I would get 2 weak men and pimp them, like have 2 husbands, and I would be good. And and they listened to what I told them to do. But that shit got old real quick. It was like, what, you don't care if I'm with him? And you don't care about none of that, So it became where I was just like bossing them, and I just felt like, this is not what I want. This is not. But then when I got with him, it was like, damn, he's not gonna take my shit. So it's sometimes you gotta know what you want. And I think that's where it starts with, is that a lot of the single women really reevaluating yourself and accepting that man with some flaws too, because you have them too. You don't have all your shit together.
And I think from the world of for the male lives in the world of ego. And I can speak from that point of view because, coming up, I did have a chance to play college basketball. Or what you call you become semi celebrity, where you're known, and things are given to you, and you're not used to trying hard for really anything. And so for me, I knew something was wrong with me, even though my life looked correct, looked right because I was on TV and people knew me. I still knew deep down inside of me that I haven't experienced life, and I haven't experienced what real life feels like, where you're having to work and you're having to get along and connect with people on a day-to-day basis. Most of our athletes and most of our men are put into this world, and they think that what the male ego or what the male archetype is supposed to be like, it's supposed to be this dominant man who has all the money, and he's supposed to have this wonderful car, he's supposed to have a great house, all right, and he's supposed to report to his job every single day to bring home the bread. All right? And so I feel that we're stuck in this ego where most men do not feel like men if they cannot do any of the above. All right, and so most of our great men, all right, and if you think about them, from your Martin Luther Kings to Malcolm X, every last one of them that you think about, they had humble beginnings, but some of them even went to jail. Some of them were thugs there at a young age, where they were more corrupt than they were perfect. But we study these men, and we say we hope our children become the next Malcolm X, the first Martin Luther King, but we're not considering that, that what if becoming Martin Luther King and Malcolm X requires you to go to jail to do some jail time? Right? We're not thinking about that. What if becoming the next Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, or the next great leader requires you to lose everything that you have just so you can understand the great lesson of humility and honesty, or require you to lose your family member or to go through something?
So you're going into like the makeup of these men.
It's the makeup of the men, because right now the men are not getting those qualities that raises families, that raises great men. You know, and it's the qualities that we need in these men that's willing to go back, and also it's the quality of women, because it does take an even greater woman to accept a man who's going to come back from these stages where he's kind of failed in his own mind.
I think that the black women right now in this state in 2017 need to have a truth serum or some type of reflection of themselves. And I hate to keep getting on the women, but I deal with women all the time. I am a black woman, and I see the little glitches of things that we need to fix. And we need to have a really good look at ourselves and really start looking at ourselves of what can we fix first. Because I see a lot of times women, they want a man. They don't want to be single anymore, but they don't want to do the work to work on themselves. They want to put out what you call the thirst traps and put out cleavage and do all this stuff, and it's just like, okay, then what? Once he gets the booty, what? Then what? What is going to happen? We need to start building relationships where the DNA is good. That's why we do divine matchmaking. And I put it out there, and I even say to women, sometimes some women will say, I don't want to know if he's bad for me. Why? Why don't you want to know that? If somebody can look at somebody and do the numbers and can tell you if they're good or bad for you, why would you be mad, or you don't want to know, and you just want to live in the dark and go through the ups and downs with this man and probably waste a few years with this man?
Yeah, and I think another part of the male condition is lack of knowledge of self. I think most men, that in order to hold a family together, he has to be the spiritual anchor, or either material anchor, but for most men, he has to be the one driving and seeing the vision for the family. Or, I mean, you would say for the woman, but I do think that the man in this type of situation, you know, he's given the mindset, and he can put it on his shoulders and decide to go that far. And the women, all she needs to do is to circle him and make sure that everything is nurtured and raised up with him, because they both are doing the same thing, but just are raising up of children in a different way. One's nurturing them to make sure that it gets wide, and another one is raising it up so it gets long. So when we think about what our men are, you know, they're strong anchors to really bring the energy to any woman who represents the tree of life, and to make her bear fruit. So if we can't raise our men and raise them strong enough, so that when we connect them with women, that no matter where they come from or what type of situation they're in, they're strong enough to bring their energy, but to make that woman produce good fruit. Right, and it has to be a man who's willing to sacrifice and do whatever it takes to be that man for that family. And I don't think we have enough men who are willing to sacrifice for that woman.
I will say that women are stepping up. I will say a lot of the women that I know of are really stepping up spiritually to get their families on track. And then there's sometimes the man is kind of lacking behind, and they're pulling the weight for their husband or that man in their life to get more, I guess what you say, conscious or woke. You know, sometimes they're scared to get the spiritual readings or get the help spiritually, and the woman is the one who's doing all the readings and trying to help, you know, develop herself, where the man is kind of like that black man is lacking, and he's not really wanting to step out of his old ways.
Yeah, and I think that's because that's the spiritual ego. Men are blocked into that whole world where I'm either better than you, or, you know, there's some other man that they're praising, because it's all about the men. When we look at alpha, we're defining alpha as I have the most money, I have a big car, I have the woman, I have that. So if I have all these things, then I need to be listening to him, because in order for me to be a man, I need to have a job, I need to do all these things like how that dude does.
I will get into that, like Brother Polite. A lot of y'all be following Brother Polite, and I think that y'all follow him because he has the women. and he's driving the fancy cars, and he's made conscious the new glamour. He's made conscious where it could be, well, the conscious community is the glamorified thing that I got these women, and I know some inside stuff about that, but I won't go all into detail about that. But I know that, you know, I could just look at the women and I'm just like, they're showpieces, because many of them, they don't speak up. They don't know how to talk on their own. I don't see them teaching any type of classes. But you're on this Brother Polite bandwagon, and we all see what happened to him. That he's basically is being coming out that him and his crew and his girls are con artists.
Mm-hmm.
So now, oh, you want to be like him? You want to rape the community and take stuff from them just so you can party it up with what, celebrities?
Mm-hmm.
What are celebrities doing for the black community? So you left New York and you went over there, and yes, I'm speaking this shit. You went there and then you went to LA, and what did you do? What, banging up with the celebrities? What is that doing for the conscious community? What is that doing for black people? They can't make any changes. They can't even make state laws. They can't help you with any connections over to other countries. They can't do shit because they're in contract too with a different contract that we all know. Yeah. So when you look at that type of stuff, it's just like y'all following the wrong men.
And then they've really built up the Heru archetype as the wrong idea.
Right.
The Heru archetype is the man who has 4 girls, who has a car, right, and he has the banging job. But if you were to look at the men who we read about, who we call the Heru or the saints or all these type of people, these were people who gave up the world to serve the people who were at the bottom, who weren't receiving the knowledge, who weren't receiving the holy teachings that were taught at the temples. All right, so your holy men, right, are people who gave up the riches. Right, they walked away from that world and became rich amongst men. They became rich in spirit because they served the spirit of men. All right, and so now we have a lot of people who serve, all right, but they serve the spirit of their ego. Right. And so when they're out there, they're doing all these consecutive interviews, and they're talking about how many bookings and debates that they've had. Right. The thing is that the goal is that if you can turn one light bulb on, right, for our creative, I can enlighten one person. Right. Maybe I don't have all the skills to work at to do it all, but maybe that one that I did turn on, that's fully lit, and who I've given all my information to, can do the work that I wasn't able to do. Exactly. Right. So the thing is, that's how I look at it. If I can turn on one light bulb, if I can teach you to do what I've done, right, then I've taken a student or an apprentice, someone who had nothing, and I've given them light, and I expect that person to keep giving and to keep progressing their understandings and learning. But I don't think we have a lot of masters here and a lot of teachers who are about self-sacrifice and to give something to someone that's of your nature, that's of your gift, that's of your original essence, but to give someone a piece of that.
And it starts with your children. What you give your children. And like we talked to Bomani before about, giving consistency. Teaching your children to be consistent. If they don't see you consistent and you telling them one thing and you telling them the other, then how are they supposed to be consistent in life and keeping your word? And I think a lot of that, the children are lacking those basic nutrients to help them grow up, because you're supposed to be growing your children up like a tree. And people keep on asking, well, how are we going to bring unity back to the black community and the black race, African Americans as a whole? It starts with the families first. You can't do shit without being and fixing your family. Like I had went into like how they had the Independence, Women's Independence Day or Women's Day, whatever, International Women's Day or whatever, and they was talking about everybody. We got to support these white women that feel like they're not getting their due justice in this society. And I'm saying, why the hell are we as black women going to fight their battles when our homes we need to fix? We're not unified within our families. We're against each other. Black man, black woman, we're against each other. And then that goes along the lines of, now I want to go with Tom over here because he treats me better, and I want to go with Susie over here because she treats me better. Whereas this whole like conflict of we need to separate to be better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm better than you. I'm the black woman now. I'm independent and now I can get this job and you can't do what I do, or I can take you down to child support and I can get this and I can get that. You know, we look at those things and it's just breaking us apart. So why the hell would we be going to help solve Becky's problems when, you know, our problems at home are not fixed? But we want to run around DC and wear little pink little kitty hats or whatever and say that we all are liberated feminists. No, get your home right first before you go running around and trying to fix other people's problems. It's now time for us to make our homes whole again, because they're not whole. And now that even goes into the lines of, now we're seeing more of our sons being effeminate because they don't have that male energy in the home. Mm-hmm. And me and Jasmine, we were just talking about that, how we all are living in the same home with Rael.
And Jasmine is a good friend of ours.
Jasmine is a good friend of ours that we're staying with. And she's a single mother of 2 children. And we were talking about polygamy, where he's not with her. He's not sexually with her. But sometimes men being in a household with women and being that male energy in the home. Like, he's the male energy for all the children. So they look at Rael, Jasmine's children, they look at Rael as their uncle, where they're getting that male energy that they need. But we have to get back to being in homes together and sharing that energy. And it doesn't have to be that you gotta fuck her. Like, it doesn't always have to. Polygamy, I think polygamy has gotten backwards, where it's just how many women you can have sex with or how many women you can have relationships with. Mm-hmm. It should be more about business. It should more be about an energy exchange like that of, I need your male energy in the household. Mm-hmm. You know, while I get myself together. So we take time where people get a break from the children. People if they don't want to cook that day, somebody's always there to cook. Somebody's always there to take care of the children. But it doesn't have to be always about sex. And that's why I think that we got it all wrong. And I know I experienced that a great deal with the Israelites.
And I think that, when people get outside the idea that, everything is not about sex, then we can start realizing that we're into the idea of rebuilding civilization. But we got to really understand that at the level of being a good man, now this world needs healing. Mm-hmm. So that man has to be willing to sacrifice some of his own personal likes, some of his own personal favorites and perks when he's looking at a woman, that if he really wants to serve a woman's spirit, right, and have that woman love her, realize that you're coming into this situation bringing some of the greatest attributes that a man can bring to a family, which is, stability, but stability in someone's mentality as well as their emotions, as well as the archetype of a man. So if there are children in the household, they get a good feeling. They get provided an experience of a fatherly figure in the household. And I think most children, unfortunately, I never grew up. I grew up with both parents in my household.
You both did.
I could never picture growing up with not having a fatherly energy in the house, where I would just only look to my mama for all the answers, and I couldn't look to that man for any, male problems.
That's where you can get the masculinity. That's where the woman, she pulls out that masculinity, and she's single that whole time, so she's the man and the woman. So when the man comes in, I can say that for myself. I had a lot of masculine energy where it was pulled out, where I was being daddy and mama at the same time. Being the enforcer. So when that man comes in and he's trying to be daddy, you look like, hold up, I got this. No, you gotta let go. That's where you can get back into your femininity, and you can be more of a nurturer, and you can let him be the one who brings down the hammer. Because I know with 6 boys, I knew I couldn't do it by myself. They had me going in circles. Mm-hmm. And when Rael came, he really had to put the hammer down, and I allowed him to do that. And that's another thing. If you want that man in the home, you gotta let that man rear the children as well. If you just say, no, you can't touch my baby, you can't touch my baby, then how does he feel like he belongs and he can bond with the family? And we have gone through that, where we had to go through a whole year of a bonding process for it all to work. But we got through it, where I understood that, hey, I can't say don't touch my baby, don't yell at my baby, because that's his baby now too. So you had to be in agreement with that this now is a true union, and that this man is truly stepping in to be the father. Now, I guess if the biological father is there would be some type of thing that the whole family needs to sit down and talk about, the blended family. But for us, their father is not a part of their life anymore. We made that agreement for him not to really be around because it was too much conflict. I went through a lot of things with him. I went through, some abuse with the father of my children. So they got to get to see a different side of a man that, is not abusive, that, knows the right balance of being, stern and also being loving and kind. And that's another thing, that if you are looking for a man, you need to make sure that he has a balance and he's not there to hurt the children. But, it's a balance in everything. And I just think that, for a single woman, you got to drop the masculinity and learn how to nurture. Let yourself be more feminine. And I think that's what we're losing. And I think that may even venture into some sides where we start to feel like we want to be a lesbian, where we want to be with a woman because we feel like a man didn't do us right, or we feel like, that energy, we got to protect ourselves from men, so we become what we actually hate.
Right, and you just kind of venture into a whole new subject about the importance, where we have to consider what's happening to us as a whole, as a collective. And when we watch TV and we look at even some of the experiments that some scientists say that's been done on the food that's supposed to make males, homosexual, now we have to have even more implementation and imprinting in our home, meaning that we have to have those archetypes in there, because not only are they putting the thought forms of homosexuality out there, they're also putting all the ingredients to make it possible, so the alchemical changes inside of you can be possible for you to even consider that world. I'm not a person that's going to harp on anyone who does what they do,
right?
But I do have to realize that it is not the natural flow of life, which is procreation, which is about sustaining life, which is about growing life. All right, so I do have to argue the point for procreation.
This became an increase of it. It's not like just like, back in the day when you were younger in high school, people kept that hush that they were, gay. They didn't want that to happen. They weren't telling anybody like, oh, I'm gay and I'm openly this, or, showing it, having a flag or any of that. That wasn't going on. You were made fun of if you had any type of rainbow something on. Somebody would joke you about that. So now it's like, now they're into it. They had like this YouTube thing that the younger kids did, and they was like, your mother will die if you don't suck a guy's dick.
It was like, would you let your mom die?
Slobber knob, and they were like, slobber knob was their answer. Like, I would do it, and it was like boys saying, I would suck dick, so to save my mother. And some people, it was only a few boys who said, well, my mother gonna have to die. But there was like a good amount of the young black men, teenage boys, saying, I would do it. And even doing the head motion and all of that. And you just like, wow, like this is getting serious. Like there's no boundaries. There's no lines. Like we don't care anymore. And it starts at home.
Yeah, and just the good thing is that since our take on consciousness is that we do teach the all-seeing eye, which is about understanding how consciousness works within the psyche of another, is that we do see that your consciousness changes over time. And so it has to take quite a lot of I guess I like to call it imprinting, mental imprinting, because they have to show these things to us over and over, and it works as a subliminal message, and it sits on the back of our mind. And then now we have the chemicals that most of these children, most of our people are ignorant of, that we're consuming, that sits very dormant in our system, and is really waiting for the stimulus. It's really waiting for some type of opportunity that these things will turn online, and before you know it, we're engaged in these these experiences. So for us looking at it, you know, consciousness has to be grown, and we have to have a way of how to monitor how our children are changing and how our friends are changing. And so, you know, I think that, you know, all of these things we're going through, I believe that we do have a solution for all of this. All right. I think the one big solution is going back to Africa, because I do feel that in order to gain any type of leverage in any fight, first thing you have to do is have space from your opponents, or those people who are limiting you from being the best version of yourself. And so I do know Africa is a huge solution for all of us. Right, and then from there, you know, other things as far as individual growth and development and connectedness and spirituality, all these things will allow us to be the full version and best version of ourselves. But I do feel that Africa is the main solution for a collective problem that we can at least begin to try to address. And I feel that, you know, this conversation has to seriously be approached, and I think it will be approached. And that's why myself, you know, my fiance, people like Bomani and other people who are now are beginning to provoke the discussion about this, and how can we come up with real sustainable results where more people can come back
so we can be self-sufficient, because that's what it's about, is that we're not self-sufficient here. We depend on the government for pretty much everything, and our lives are basically controlled. And it's warfare. It's not just spiritual warfare. It's physical. It's all of that. It's warfare on our families, and that's why the family is split up. And that's where we had to get back and build that nucleus back up, where we can start a dialogue of, now the families are all going to come over together, united, man, woman, and child, and we're going to go back to Africa. But it has to start with their families really developing themselves. We do so many compatibility charts with black women and men, and it's all about harmonization and each side wanting to come together to work on their part to make this nucleus and make it a whole and make it good again. But we cannot move and mobilize and have a mass migration without the families being fixed. We can't do anything. That's why I'm saying, why are the black, I gotta go back to that. Why the hell are black women going and reaching out to white women and other races of women for this feminist movement? It's stupid. You need to fix your home. I could give a shit if this pisses you off. Fix your home first. Take care of your children, and then we can start having what you call, Solange said, having a seat at the table.
Yeah, but and I think that we'll have to kind of use the same method of fixing and harmonizing the whole. But just like when we look at a guitar or any type of instrument, there's always a mechanism that they use that can harmonize the sound to make sure that every note and chord is sounding like it's supposed to. And so that's why I feel that it's very important that we build that enlightened community that will serve as that harmonization, that tuning fork that other countries and other communities can use to establish their enlightened communities, where more people are trickling over, but they're having a place. They're having a place that is known and that's well respected by Africans as well, because these would be organizations that's doing stuff for the people, but also allowing Americans, or I guess I want to take Americans out, or allowing African descendants to be able to come back and live amongst Africans. All right, and so I think that if we start using the word African descendants instead of African Americans, but African descendants, all right, and we welcome them back, and we have to start the conversation that we're developing these type of communities, so not only are the people in Africa are anticipating it, but the government and even officials can start considering some of these ideas. Now, we don't know exactly how they're going to act, but I do know that the change has to happen. And Africa is going to have to be that mother again for most African descendants who are wanting to come back.
I don't know, it's kind of going off the subject, but I do want to say this to any Africans that are watching this, that have came over to America. Y'all have to start having more of a dialogue with us and really seeing us as your brothers and sisters. I just like not too long ago, I got my braids done from some Africans from Benin, and we had such a great dialogue, and I just was asking them about their culture, and they were telling me stuff, and the one lady that had already came over there was doing my braids. She had only been over there for a couple of, like, almost 2-3 months. And she was just talking about how much she missed home, and she could barely even speak English. So I was going through my phone and I was trying to speak French with her and pick up words, and we were learning from each other. And she said, you're going to do well over in Africa. Because I was telling her I was going to go. She said, you're going to do well because you want to hear about our culture. You want to know who we are. So it takes both sides. African Americans believing that they are African, and that Africans see us as their brothers and sisters, and there be a dialogue where we don't feel like we're shunned and they don't feel like we hate them. It needs to be, we need to dispel these myths and really start having a talk with each other. Now that's who you should be running to talk to, your African brothers and sisters, not Becky over there. You know, you need to be getting back to our roots and actually talking to the people who have been over there, and having that dialogue that make us understand Africa more, that it's not, you know, people walking around butt naked with bones in their nose. It's real people just like you, and it's civilization going on, and it's a beautiful place that you can actually build a new life in.
Yeah, because now we see, you know, people like Nature Boy. I'm gonna bring up another person who's out there really gaining a lot of followers. Is that he has his operations in Costa Rica, and what he's promoting are that people live in the jungles with no clothes on and
run around in the waterfalls.
And they call that freedom and liberation. And what I like to call that is that's just a small, that's just a vacation.
Exactly. Like if you want a vacation,
I'm not here to experience a vacation of freedom where I go to Costa Rica, because I know in Costa Rica the mass of black people, all right, are not in Costa Rica. The mass of consciousness of black people is on the mothership.
I have to say this one quick thing. If you go with Nature Boy, you're just being a coward. Cowards run to Costa Rica and play in the jungle. We're here to do the real work, and that's to build this bridge and to really build this work. Not run butt naked and have sex with. We already know what you're doing. Plenty of people come back to us. You know, you're fucking all these women and just doing what you do and doing your little mind control, because we know a lot of people have weak minds and are followers and don't know how to think for themselves.
It's not a holy walk, a holy walk. And the people who come from the past and the people who changed civilizations, they did just that. They didn't go to the jungles and walked around naked and called that freedom. And the freedom that we're talking about is to show, to build a society, a community, all right, but teach intelligence that allows us greater connectedness with each other, but at the same time grow the rest of the population and people there, and allow them the same jewel, the same understanding, the same talents that we all bring over to that country. So I feel that if people can see that it's people who are the diamonds, it's people who are the gold. All right, we can wear gold and we can wear diamonds, but diamonds and gold can't teach us anything. Right. Diamonds and gold can't invent anything. All right, all what they are is sustainable. That they're materials that's used that can conduct energy and can store energy at the same time. So when we look at people, all right, people are the real diamonds. They're the real gold. And those should be the people that countries should be grabbing onto, right? Where there's some people mine for gold and mine for diamonds, countries should mine for talent and for great minds that can help restore the country and the land to greater values, but also bring greater resources through their innovation and some of their natural talents.
That's what I was just thinking about, is that if you're in a college right now and you graduate, go to another country and bring back what you were doing. Bring it to another country. Don't give it to America. Go and learn and give it to Africa and see what you can do and how you can be an asset to Africa. Where we're teaching our children to be slaves to the system. So when they go through this school system, this European is set up. They go through this school system and they're learning their ways. They're learning how to be what we call a free slave. So you're in this system where you're building up their system. You're not building up anything of your own. That's why we homeschool. We decided to just take the children out and start to do our own homeschooling and teaching them where you should be teaching your child how to have their own business. They should be seeing you do business.
Mm-hmm.
They should be able to learn from you, because if you're at work and they're at school, then what is the time spent? What, when you're having dinner, when you're doing homework, on the weekends? It's just too much where we're away from our children.
Yeah. And the main archetypes of being a father and being a mother are missed out. Guess what? Because you're not home. You got to be there to experience your father and mother, to say, I know what it is to have a mommy and daddy. All right. So I think now when we look at just some of the basic archetypes, some of the basic templates, some of the basic designs that we need to keep and sustain life here, that the family structure is something that needs to be explored again in institutions, schools, churches. Need to take a different approach to how we grow each child, because every child may not be grow just off of mental stimulation. Some people need emotional stimulation first before they receive the mental stimulation through education and exploration.
And right now they're labeling our children, and they want to get your children on drugs. They're giving the Ritalin and all this other stuff for the ADHD, and then they're having now they're trying to label every child with autism. And what they do is they make a file for your child to keep them on that throughout school. And they're even building files where my oldest son, they had him like he had a probational officer once he got into too many fights. So they were already creating a file for him to be in jail by the time he probably got out of school, or by the time he was in 12th grade. So the school system is really not for our children. They want to drug your children up and dumb them down and dope them up, and they want to label your child. You can refuse these labels. And it's simple. If we start being more self-sufficient and we build a bridge back to Africa, we can build our own communities from the ground up. We can decide what type of schools we want and what we want to teach our children. We should be alive and active, where if you want to learn photography, go with a photographer. You want to be an artist, follow an artist. You want to be a doctor, watch the doctor, like we used to do. Not stuff where you had to go through tons of all these classes that you don't need just to become what you want to become. It's just by observation and getting and doing the work.
Yep. And so I feel that what we bring in our vision for the future is that I think that in order for us to have some solution, that we must build it first. We live in a world where people need to see it to believe it. And so I believe that if people could understand that the aim for our black community and countries and nations is to build your first black enlightened community. All right, and what this will do for the future, it's going to give people a different template. It'll give them an aim, but you need certain people who can try to come and be a liaison for bringing about this change. And what we do is that we teach a sacred language. And this language was used in ancient Egypt, and it was used in all of our past, where everyone, all of the high officials and all of the leaders knew how to see, and they understood how to see through a basic language that we teach, which is the all-seeing eye. And so we believe that if we're allowed and given the power, all right, to be able to build this community, but also teach the people some of the knowledge and the things that we are able to teach, we believe that everyone there will be able to harmonize, and we'll be able to build a community that allows us to really teach at a greater level, where it's more than about education, but it's more so about nourishment and being able to give that information where it nourishes someone based on how they're able to receive information. Everyone doesn't receive information the same, so we have to be experts at how we cater information to people. Just like how when people order food, we got to know exactly how they ordered it. Or if you have a computer, you got to make sure that the software is compatible with the computer. So our teachers need to be more compatible with all of the students that they are teaching. And I think it takes a greater understanding of intelligence for them to be able to teach at a greater depth.
Well, perfect. And we could probably go on for a longer time. But you said the key thing in what you just mentioned, compatibility. And I want us to close on talking about compatibility as far as relationship. And also want to share your contact details so folks can get in touch with you in all different forms, so we can close out in the next few minutes. But definitely heavy dialogue as far as relationships, as far as the structure of family, which you know, when we talk about relationships, men and women, we're also talking about the foundation of a family.
So what do you basically want to know about man and woman, like compatibility? I guess what
no, your final thoughts on compatibility, because that seems to be the issue that we're having, that not much of us are really, we can't really all be compatible if we haven't a certain ratio.
Not everybody's meant to be
of madness going on.
Well, I'll go ahead and start my closing statement. And my closing statement would be, in the old days, there was a high priest who was a part of being compatible, and we call them, when we studied, we called them the Anunnaki. What they were the ancient, they were the matchmakers. And when people got wed, they had to go to the priest, and it was the priest who were matching up the males and the females, who knew exactly the stars and the alignments of the stars, and they also knew exactly what we knew, which is to be able to match a person off of just basic understanding. And so when we think about how we've lost that understanding of being able to harmonize and being more compatible, I think that learning the art of compatibility, all right, will allow us to be more compatible with people. So if we were to teach you exactly what we do and how we do it, then guess what? You now know how to be compatible with the spouse and the woman that's going to be in your life. And you know exactly how to pick her based on, like, if there was any farmer who was out in the field, or any person who's picking fruit, it would be like, you know how to pick the best fruit for you.
I will say this, for my part, because I always kind of like get off, like what he says, I can bounce off it and take my part, is awareness. And I really think that women need to be more aware, men need to be more aware of their self first. Once you get in tune and you're more aware with yourself, then you can know what you want, and then you can know if you know there's things that you need to fix or change, and also just being honest with yourself and the things that you need to work on. And I think that's where you can go and you can get readings from us. We do ascension charts. We do the compatibility charts. We also tell you to get into astrology. Get into anything that can spiritually help you grow to really be in tune and knowing yourself. And then you can start looking for that mate. A lot of people don't want to wait and work on themselves. They want that instant. And we're in this instant world where it's instant food, it's instant television, everything is instant. So now we want instant relationships, and we don't want to put in time to ourselves to attract that highest light. And I say that you can only get your best reflection when you are up there in the higher harmonics. When you're not up in the higher harmonics, then you're going to attract what you are. So a lot of people are like, why I always get the ugly men? Because you might be ugly inside. You may think you're beautiful, but you may be ugly inside. You know what I'm saying? So it's always like that man. He's like, oh, I always get the dumb women. You might be dumb. So there's some things where we got to do some inner checks with ourselves, because it all boils down to, once you get with this woman or man, that's DNA being exchanged. That's energy being exchanged. That's cords being put into each other. So you have to be very careful about who you are getting with. When you lay down with a man or you lay down with that woman, cords, energetic, etheric cords are being connected. And you can't just cut them, just because you stop being around them. They stay within you. So I think it's just that we need to gain that awareness of ourselves and really choose wisely. And there's ways that you can choose wisely, and you can get those services through us. We are on Facebook, Ra'el and Hathor Sekma El. We have a public figure page. We have our website, www.schoolfortheliving.com. And you can also find us on Facebook, Hathor Sekma El, and you can find Ra'el on there. You can inbox us. You can find out about the compatibility readings. You can go on our website. We have all our services on there. And we are also about to have another class at the All Seeing Eye. And that's a perfect class where you can learn consciousness. You can learn the sexuality of that man or woman. You can learn about yourself, your family, your children. It just overall, in any type of business that you're in, is going to help you with everything in life. And I can be a testament that it helped me within my life. So, again, www.schoolfortheliving.com, or you can find us on Facebook public figure page, Rael and Hathor Sekma L.
Do you want to share any phone numbers?
Oh, and then our number.
Or email address?
Yeah, you can email us at journey to the number 2 the throne 888 at Gmail. So you can also email us there. And we're definitely open to anyone who's inquiring about our services.
Any phone numbers or so. And also, I can get the information and put in the description box for those who are watching the videos. They can just access it.
Well, we really don't want to give out our phone number too much, but we do answer Facebook if you call us, and email is as well. But yeah,
just contact us on Facebook. It's better in this world. We'll be able to deal with your information, and you can look at our information.
Right.
So I think it's just better that way. And then from there, we can exchange information and connect at that time if you want to inquire.
Right. Because you can get a lot of weirdos calling you. I'm sorry, but I get it in my inbox too. So at least with the inbox, I could kind of figure out filter it first before I actually answer it or text it. It's like, who is this? So it's better on Facebook, or you can email us for sure.
Absolutely, and I definitely appreciate the energy, and appreciate you opening up and sharing your life and sharing your experience and emotions. And I want to let everybody know that's listening, everything that we do is for the purpose of Black nation building. There's no way we can rebuild what was stolen from us, or rebuild the destruction of what has happened to us without us begin to get into these hardcore dialogues. And people hear me talk about Africa all the time. That's where it's been at for myself. Us being here is for us to work together to build a strong foundation in Africa. So family, you can link us on our website at africafortheafricans.org if you want to journey with us to the mother continent, or other parts of the known Black world. That's what we do. Our goal is to connect more and more of us. And also, we push Black cultural empowerment and entrepreneurship, and these are some of the things that our brothers and sisters right here are doing well, and they're great examples of what we as a people can do by just thinking outside of the box. And all of us have our story as far as how we were one time and then how we have evolved. So that's what we're doing. We're not here to knock or lash out at anyone. We're here to share our spiritual growth, our cultural growth, and share the things that we're working on and building, and letting others know that if you're open to the dialogue and things that we're talking about, and open to doing business with us, because we're all business people, reach out to us, connect with us, and we'll connect and continue with the nation building.
Right.
Yeah, but we got to start from somewhere, and we appreciate the work that Bomani's doing by connecting with young entrepreneurs and people who are really trying to bring a positive effect to the world. So we do appreciate your time, and we just hope that other people receive this message.
Yeah, both of your voices is equal as important as these so-called known big figures and people. So I want more people to hear from the true Black people that are doing true things, nation building, grassroots kind of movements and things. So family, that's what we're about. We are, the journey continues. Keep it love, keep it Black, keep it strong.
Peace.
Yep, back to Africa.
Right.